Erika Craft, welcome. So excited to have you on The Naturalist today. If you are just tuning into the Naturalist podcast for the first time, we are the natural and organic and healthy products industry's go-to podcast for all things data, trends, and insights surrounding the industry. Whoa. I just made us the go-to podcast for all of that. What do you think, Erika? I think we are, especially when you're on.
I love it. And I love that you just like while that was happening, you're like, whoa, I love that. And I love the realization of it.
That's what we are. And I want to give a big thank you to our sponsors of today's podcast, Zigo and Nusante.
You might have seen Zigo and CEO Colleen Cavanaugh at Expo West or Newtopia Now, on the show floor or on stage talking about regenerative agriculture and specialty grain supply chains. If you haven't met them yet, let me introduce you. Zigo makes delicious organic oats, muesli, and superfood oatmeal, gluten-free, food allergy-friendly, regeneratively grown, and made right here in the U.S., and glyphosate-free. And they back this up. Scan the QR code on any Zigo package, and you'll see their latest third-party test results for pesticide residues, heavy metals like lead, and gluten. You can find Zigo at natural food stores near you, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, Lassen's, Jimbo's, Erewhon, and Mom's Organic Market, or at ZigoFoods.com. And there's a special offer for the Naturalist listeners. Use code PODCAST for 10% off your next purchase.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Erika. Always so good to see you.
Hello, Jessica. Always so good to see you, too. It's been a minute since it's been you and I on here, and I'm really excited that we're here.
I agree. Not even a hot minute, like just like a straight up minute. Like
a very cool
minute.
A
cool minute. It's been a cool minute. Here we are together again. We've had some really fun conversations over the past few weeks since I've been back. And of course, Adrienne is not here today. Why? Because she is in Spain celebrating soccer. Mainly.
Lucky her. It's so cool that she gets to be there like while they win. I have a feeling because she's there, that's why they won. It has to be.
I think so too. And I wrote her and told her I hope that she was basking in that victory. And she said she absolutely was. So
nice.
We'll be hearing a lot of updates from her when she gets back. But in the meantime, Erika, we're going to talk about the condition-specific report. If you do not know Erika Craft, Erika, tell everyone a little bit about what you do at Informa Health and Nutrition.
Yes, I am the Data and Insights Manager on the Nutrition Business Journal team, who is Nutrition Business Journal. If you aren't already familiar, we are one of the experts in tracking trends and consumer behavior and market sizing within the natural and organic products industry. So we have an understanding of food and beverage, personal care, but we have a really deep expertise and historic modeling and market sizing in the dietary supplement space. So and that's what this report is on, the condition-specific report. It's basically taking the whole U.S. supplement industry and divvying it up into different health conditions, health concerns, which we track about 22, general health being one of them. So 21 more specific type of health concerns. And this report really just dives into, what ingredients are fueling growth within those conditions as well. So excited to get more into that today and give you a little teaser on some of the top insights in the report.
I am too. And I did feel like there was kind of a big story that emerged from it for me. But before we get into that, you just took a function health test. Is that correct?
I
You
did.
just did your diagnostics. I love that you walk the talk. You're really in the industry. I love hearing what you're drinking and eating and supplements that you're taking, but you took that. So let's give people a little glimpse into behind the scenes, Erika Craft taking this, going through this diagnostic process, because you were pretty impressed by it, right?
Yeah, I was. And yeah, it's funny you say that. We were on a call a couple of days ago and I was raving about my experience from it. And it's just funny being, professionally in this space and tracking trends and telling people what's hot in the industry and then being a consumer on that side and knowing what I know, but also from a consumer doing more research myself. And I'm thinking about my behaviors and what I'm doing, and when it comes to function health and wanting to know more about my health, I'm like, instead of just surveying people all the time, I could probably be looking at what I'm doing on a daily basis and get an understanding. I don't have to survey people to know that. Yeah, it was cool doing function health. I've talked about it at different events. I've talked to different people, and I'm like, oh, you should give it a try. It's only like $365. Not an ad for function health, by the way, but they are amazing. And so I was like, I tell people to do it. Like I feel like I should do it. And, I don't really have like anything big going on, but it just was really cool to just have the data and the insights to just be more knowledgeable about my health. And I just kept coming back to that word, like feeling empowered, which was what I put in my LinkedIn post. And what I was telling you about is like, I just truly felt like the data about my body and health was very empowering. And I felt like a lot of other people could also experience that. I mean, in a world of data overwhelm and healthcare overwhelm, it's just really amazing to have a platform where it all lives in one place, and AI can help you contextualize all these things where like beforehand you would have to do hours and hours of research. And so it's really cool and exciting, and really gets me excited about the future of this industry and the brands that can help support consumers along their journey too.
What if you could discover the next big thing in natural products before it hits mainstream? Imagine being the buyer who took a chance on poppy, or the distributor who took a chance on Siete Foods before they were, well, everywhere. That's exactly what Utopia Now offers. Utopia Now is the conscious products event where breakthrough discoveries happen. Registration is open now, so head to newtopianow.com to secure your spot. The people shaping the industry are going to be in that room, so why not be one of them? Register today, and we'll see you in Denver, August 18th through 20th, 2026. Yes, this year, coming right up. Thanks, Erika. And what you did for, I think, a lot of people, whether they be listeners of the podcast or people you're talking to at an event, has made this kind of like lofty concept that we're talking about often in like an industry way or a more intellectual way, and made it feel really real and personal. And you saying what struck me in that is you're like, it's only $350. Probably a lot of people would hear that and be like, $350, that's a lot of money. But when you really think about the information and insights about your body, your health, that's giving you so that you can make better choices now. You, I think on our last call, compared that to healthcare costs, right? So obviously it's going to be a blend of things that people have to invest in to optimize their health. But when it comes down to a price point, it feels like that is relatively accessible when you think about the bigger picture of this is how you live and wanting to live a long, happy, healthy life. So we'll talk more about that in the future, but I really like that you did that, and maybe I will do it at some point. So let's dive into the condition-specific report. I was struck, and I love this report, right? I love seeing what's happening in those different categories. But what seemed interesting this year, and it does feel like things have been moving this way, is that it's not really which condition is growing the fastest, but it seems like the walls, the barriers between conditions are really disappearing. So for example, weight management is now really about muscle building and metabolic health, or brain health is becoming more about mood and performance under stress. You could go through all of the different conditions, and they're changing and they're blending and they're merging. So I want to start with that question for you, Erika. Do you feel that consumers are fundamentally shifting how they define what it means to be healthy and the conditions that they target in order to achieve that goal of health?
Wow, I love that insight and summary. I don't know if anyone has, even myself included, has articulated it in such a great way that you just did, because it really is a blending of barriers between these conditions. And I completely agree. I think every year people always end up being like, what are the fastest growing conditions? What are the top 5? And it's like, there's so many different factors that go into it. And it's not just about the growth rate, right? It's about like, okay, well, what are the behaviors behind those conditions, and what are the ingredients, and are there trends within, certain smaller, more specialty type ingredients that are starting to come up. And so it's like taking back the layers within those. And so with that, I do think that there's an underlying trend or insight behind all of this, which is kind of two different thoughts. It's kind of this like healthy aging and longevity, right? We tend to joke that healthy aging and longevity is like all of the conditions. It's like this new general health, right? And so I think that that really started this cascade that we're seeing of this blending of other conditions as well, because it's like, when you're thinking about your metabolic health, it's like, it's not always weight management. It might be weight management for a certain sector or segment of group of people who are buying these products, but it could also be about gut health or about immunity. And so I think it's just meaning different things to different consumers. And really bringing it back to that function health piece, I think because people do have more data, whether it's from function health or they're going to their practitioner more, which we are seeing, or having more data from wearables, I think people are just having more data and insights about how their body is reacting to different ingredients, environments, and what they need to help them in those scenarios. And so I think it's just kind of personalizing these conditions, and then certain segments of those personalization is becoming more popular. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I think it's interesting how you tied it to personalization and that link between personalization and the breaking down of barriers between conditions, because these conditions manifest in different ways for different people, and different people are reacting to dietary supplements and lifestyle changes in all different ways. But that is creating this much more systemic approach. So personalization is a more systemic approach to conditions and your overall health. So I think that's fascinating. You touched on longevity, and I want to dig in for a second there because, of course, like everyone's talking longevity. Some people are calling it health span. Are we at peak longevity? Like, is this just like a moment in time where everyone's like, yes, 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 let's talk about this? Or is it like, okay, that's here to stay? And what does the future, I think my big question here is, what does the future of longevity as a category look like?
So healthy aging, just to put it into perspective, it is the fastest growing condition that NBJ is tracking. So I believe it's around 17% growth in 2025. And while we're predicting the growth to decrease over the next 4 years, we still anticipate it's going to be in double-digit growth. And so while that's happening, I don't think that the peak has hit yet, because I think that there's still more people that are going to be entering this category. And what makes me think that is when I was doing research for this report, and we tend to look at, brands that are participating within this space, launching new products for these certain conditions. And I think a good example is Centrum launched a product that says Age Defy on it. And to think about a legacy brand like Centrum to really go after a condition like this and straight up put healthy aging supplement on front of pack, I think that really says something specifically for, again, a brand that's been around for a long time. It's a mass market brand. So when you start to see more mass market type brands playing into this space, I think it shows that more and more people are aware of it and buying more products for it. But I don't think that we've hit a peak yet, because I think the next wave of this is kind of what you were looking to, and the future of this is going to be more of like the metabolic health, because to me, metabolic health is also very foundational, like healthy aging and like longevity. So I feel, and I kind of see, in my opinion, is that that's kind of where this condition is going to be headed.
Yeah, very interesting. And even in the terminology that we're using to describe, like moving from aging to healthy aging and longevity. So not just the number of years that you're living, but certainly the quality of those years. And that's where I think that metabolic health piece is so important. So I do want to talk a little bit more then about weight management and some of the changes that we're seeing there. There's certainly this ripple effect around GLP-1s and other categories in the supplement industry that's impacting. So I want to start with that. What are you in this point in time seeing as the kind of number one influenced category by GLP-1s? Like, which ingredient or category is most being influenced in the here and now?
It's interesting. So weight management is one of those conditions where it tops the top 5 spot in terms of market share. So it has a lot of sales behind that category. So when you see a healthier, stronger growth rate like we are seeing, that is significant in the marketplace. So there's a lot of added dollars in that growth year over year. In terms of conditions, what I really see is growing and fueling consumer interest along the GLP-1 space is fiber and probiotics. It's really just aiding those consumers who are on a GLP-1, really with those gastrointestinal issues. So kind of like tying weight management and gut health together, right? Like going back to those barriers really and those lines blurring between conditions. You have brands like Pendulum that are doing like gut fuel powder, and those are like the prebiotic powders. And then you also have other brands too that are trying to help those not necessarily mimic a GLP-1, but to help give them some sort of natural alternative. Now, I don't think that that's going to be growing faster than those who are just looking for the nutritional support while they're on one, but I do think that it's a meaningful group of people that's not going to be going away anytime soon.
This episode is brought to you by Newbies. If you've got a picky eater, this one's for you. We didn't set out to build a brand. We set out to solve snacking for our family and friends. So Newbies had to be the best. Real nutrition and real convenience in a little 125 milliliter pouch made for small hands and lunchboxes, with flavors picky eaters actually finish. And Newbies Plus, for all of us big kids, is now plant-based. Made for our family and yours and ready for your shelf. Learn more at nusante.com. That's Nusante with a G.
Are you reading my mind right now, Erika? Because that was exactly going to be my question of where you're seeing more momentum in these alternatives to GLP-1 pharmaceutical drugs or in the products and categories that are supporting GLP-1 users. This is not a new conversation for us at Informa, but it is one that we've been tracking consistently, and it seems like it's constantly changing. So are you noticing anything different, more momentum in one direction or the other than maybe you did 6 months ago?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because we just did a survey on weight management on the topic for our other upcoming NBJ report, sports nutrition and weight management, and we surveyed those who are currently on a GLP-1 and then previous GLP-1 users. And the previous GLP-1 users, it was interesting to see the amount that they were off of it because they wanted a natural solution and they just didn't want to be on it long term. And of course, right, like as we go along this journey, like more people that are going to try a GLP-1 are going to realize it's not for them and they're going to try to look for something else. And a lot of people also just don't want pharmaceutical prescriptions for every ailment that they're having, right? Like it could work for them for a little bit. And then afterwards they're like, man, I don't feel like long-term that's best for my health. So I do think that interest before 6 months ago, I wasn't convinced that it was going to, be a sustained growth engine for this category. Maybe because, I think the formulation from the supplement side still needs a little bit of science and really tweaking that out. But it does seem like there's consumer demand there. Granted, this is a survey. It's not market sizing yet. We don't really have the growth numbers to attach to that, but it seems like maybe there's just a market need of like a formulation to help with that. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's fascinating and definitely directionally helpful to hear what consumers are saying about that. I have a million more follow-up questions on that, but I will not because there's a couple other things I want to talk about. And I know our time is limited here and we can't give away all of the amazingness that's in that report. So I have 2 other questions I want to ask you about a couple conditions that I think are really interesting. One is the evolution of brain health. And you talk about that in the report. And a lot of what struck me was like, and I think this will resonate with most people who are living in today's society and living their life, is just like trying to perform under stress and pressure and lack of sleep. And it's a little depressing to talk about all the things that we're trying to do with all of the external things coming at us, but we have to, and we do, and we want support in doing that. So I liked that angle on brain health, right? Like rather than just preserving kind of how your brain is functioning now into the future, it seems like it's a lot more around optimizing under today's pretty strenuous conditions as in conditions around us. Tell me a little bit about how you all were approaching that category.
I think it's just so funny that you started this off with like the barriers of conditions, because that really is exactly where we keep going back to with all of this, is like brain health and then mood and mental health are really starting to see a convergence. Yeah, people are stressed, and now we have wearables to tell us how stressed we are throughout the day, and then that makes people more stressed.
Thanks for telling me that. I knew.
Yeah, I'm sitting there and it's like, you're stressed, and I'm like, am I? Like, maybe I am stressed. So, and then I get,
now you are.
Yeah, now I am. It's interesting tying brain health to this, because I think a couple years ago, there was a big focus on the brain and your gut and how important that connection is. But I think now we're starting to see more conversation around the mood and anxiety piece. And so what's interesting with that, I think, is certain ingredients as well as nootropics. We're starting to see a lot within the nootropics category. Ashwagandha, ginkgo biloba, I think that's how you pronounce it. Don't come for me if it's not. Other types of ingredients like that. Combination herbal formulas really is what we're seeing within the brain health space. And really also, L-theanine. It's an amino acid typically found in a lot of sports nutrition products, and that ingredient is also coming up a lot, which leads me to what you were saying too, is also this like brain performance piece. So it's like the stress piece, but it's also like performing on a day-to-day basis, not within like the elite sports performance world, but just like me going to work. I want to make sure my brain is functioning at an optimal level, right? And so there's certain ingredients that you can take to do that. And I do think that younger consumers are really looking for that, both from a supplement standpoint, also from the functional beverage standpoint too.
Natural Foods Merchandiser has been the trusted way to reach retail decision makers in the $300 billion plus natural products industry for nearly 5 decades. Our readers don't just browse. 92% turn to NFM to discover new products and trends. 82% engage with our content weekly or more, and 78% interact across multiple platforms. With 15,000 print and 50,000 digital subscribers, including category managers, buyers, store owners, wholesalers, and distributors, NFM is the daily resource that shapes purchasing decisions and drives industry growth. Subscribe today, or to be included in the magazine, email newbusiness@newhope.com. Yeah, and a lot of that, it seems like, being centered around focus, like what you can achieve when you can get that kind of higher degree of focus in what you're doing. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing how that category continues to evolve. We can't go too much into it, because if I open up this can of worms, I can't believe I just called women's health a can of worms, but it's
take it back. Take it back.
We can't open up this can of worms. Yes, we have opened the floodgates of women's health.
That's better. That's better. I like that.
Yes. And you're seeing a lot there, all the different categories and conditions that women's health touches. What can people expect to see in the report around women's health?
I just love floodgates in women's health. That's amazing. Yeah, I think what's interesting about the women's health category, because like I said at the beginning, we track 22 different conditions. We kind of take women's health, like if it's an umbrella up here, we break it out into a lot of different conditions. So we have women's general health, we have beauty from within, which isn't all women, right? Especially with a lot of the growth we see within men's hair growth lately. But I include it for this purpose. Pre-postnatal, as well as sexual health and menopause. And I don't think I'm forgetting any, but I might be. But those are the main 5 big ones. And so when we combine all of those together, we actually get a lot more interesting insights and obviously a much larger category. And within that, what we're seeing are these more specialized type conditions like menopause and women's sexual health, which is women's hormonal health as well. Those are going to be the more fast growing conditions where we're seeing a ton of innovation and a ton of interest and demand from the consumer side. And it's interesting too, like menopause obviously is a very specific type of age range, but there's so many women that are going and experiencing those types of symptoms, and they're really looking for products to help support them. And I really do think that products and formulation have gotten even a lot better in the last year. I still think, of course, there's always room to improve, but really exciting to see that. And then the women's sexual health piece, a lot of varying age range as well, but also that younger female aspect of really wanting to better understand your hormones and the foundation of that health, how it impacts other aspects of your health. We actually just did an optimizer survey for another upcoming report that we have. We're talking to optimizers, which is, a good chunk of the supplement industry, I would say, people that are trying to optimize their health. If they just in general are aware of their hormonal health, what are they doing about it? And a good amount of people, I want to say like 40% said that they're actively optimizing their hormonal health. And to me, that was way higher than I was expecting. I was like, maybe this is still niche. I don't think it's still niche. But it's about meeting them where they're at and also not just giving them products that are like super general. I think that we as an industry have the opportunity to really refine what we're providing from an ingredient standpoint and educate and really help them along that process. So I'm really excited to see where that goes to.
That is such a shocking stat and an encouraging one to me as well, that I would imagine looked very different even a year ago. And what I really appreciate about what you do and the NBJ team with your insights is you're able to take all of this interesting data from what's happening in the industry and pair that with what consumers are saying, what they're asking for, and help anyone that's doing business in this space understand where to go next, whether that's through their formulation or their marketing strategy or their education initiatives. And so that's why NBJ is truly on the leading edge of these industry movements. I know we're about out of time, and I wish we could talk for many more hours on this, but clearly there is so much information packed into the condition-specific report. Erika, any other key insights that you just want to tease out for someone who's like, okay, what's in that thing? This sounds pretty good.
I would say this is probably our biggest report. And while I gave a pretty good high level of like executive overview, there's so much data in what you receive. So you get, the whole commentary, and it really gives context as to like what's happening in this market and with consumers. But what's also great is you just get so much data, like raw data from an Excel file standpoint. And you get, PowerPoint charts that can help you in your own presentations that really give context too. So I just think that there's so much raw data that you can take and compare with other data sources that you have too, right? And see like, oh, how is it looking, for women's health? Like, what are we seeing across other data providers? So I think the vast amount that you get is pretty awesome. So especially with this report. Oh my gosh. That's a cue. I need water.
Stay hydrated, everyone. Okay, Erika, thank you so much. I highly recommend anyone in health, nutrition, supplements take a look at this. We just scratched the surface of what's in there, and you all did an excellent job as always. Erika, so good to have you on the podcast. So glad we're united, and I will see all of you soon. Please rate, subscribe, and be sure to check out the report.
Best podcast there is.